All right. And without any further ado, we've got several special presentations tonight. But first, we're going to kick it off with Lakeview's Week of Respect Pride presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we share a little bit about who we are at Lakeview. At Lakeview, we believe strongly in educating the whole child. In addition to all the work that's done within the realm of academics, we also foster within our students what it means to be a Lakeview Lion, who is proud to come to school every single day and be who they are, to give their best effort and to give that extra 1% every day. In conjunction with the academics, we also embed social emotional learning, character education, and our core values into all that we do. And in addition to that, we envelope some special themes to make it more exciting, make it meaningful and engaging. So who better to help me introduce the themes for the 22-23 school year than this incredible group of Lakeview Lions behind me. So you guys ready to help me? Yeah. All right. We are all aboard the Lakeview Energy Bus.
We are all aboard the Lakeview Energy Bus.
Roaring with pride.
Roaring with pride.
Ready for the big work.
Ready for the big work.
Equipped with our tools for success.
Equipped with our tools for success.
Woohoo!
It is my pleasure to present the first place winners in our coveted poster contest for this year. Please hold all of your applause until the end. In kindergarten, we have Lily Swanson. Okay, boss says we could do applause. We'll do applause. First grade, Tabitha Charuza. Second grade, Sebastian Lozano. Third grade, Sambi Singh. In fourth grade, we have Violet Pisa. And in fifth grade, we have Nadika Agrawal. And now we'd like to have our fifth grade first, second, and third place winners share the motivation behind creating their winning posters.
Very good. So we are going to open up with Timmy Marshall and Allison Bordet.
Our motivation for making this poster is that we both love art and love to draw, and we thought that this was a great opportunity for us to test out our art skills together for We Before Me. I don't really like races or contests, but I love art. I thought that together we had a pretty good chance of winning first, second, or third. We both worked very hard on our poster and added lots of things to it. I like working together better than alone because then we can both share the prize and have a great memory of us working together on it and for earning a second place prize. I am very happy we entered and put all our effort into this poster contest.
Our motivation for making this poster is we like the idea of We Before Me theme. It can apply to anything, and it is important to put others first instead of yourself. Also, drawing, creating, and making is one of my favorite things to do, and making a poster for We Before Me was an amazing idea. I made sure it had all of my best effort of making it look great. The poster is about people gathering together as friends. They are all different. It shows no matter what they look like, their favorite things, it is still important to put others first.
Next up, we have Varsha Sundar.
Hello, my name is Marsha. My poster depicts me as a principal. Here I have picked four of my inspirations as four of my rare points. Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. on one side, and living climate activist Greta Thunberg, and the youngest Nobel Award laureate Malala Yousafzai on another. In the center, I have the Pride Point, with their beloved lion on it. This signifies the Lakeview Elementary School where I am practicing the. Here, I am implicitly showing my dream and hope that every elementary student practicing leading from me now will follow the footsteps of these kinds of role models and leaders. In fact, our younger generation hopefully will go beyond what is mentioned in the book The Hard Hat, as we will be practicing leading from me way early in life, and will turn into great role models for others. Thank you, Board, for encouraging me and giving me this great opportunity.
And next up, Nandika Agarwal.
My motivation for making this poster was that I wanted to show my art skills in something that everyone could see, so I decided to make a poster. I love art in general, so I wanted to get better, so I made this poster to improve, and in the future, I could keep on trying to get better. Another motivation that I had to make this poster was that I wanted to show people that even if you don't think you might win, winning doesn't always matter. What matters is that you should give it a shot. I also wanted to make a poster that would follow on about what the concept about the book The Hard Hat would really mean. The concept was we before me, so I wanted to make something that would really stand out and mean we before me. And I even included some of the book's concepts into my poster. So that was my motivation, that I wanted to show the true meaning in my poster that people would understand. My final motivation was that my family motivated me. My mom kept on pushing me to try harder in my art, and I believe that worked, and I tried my best, and I won. Thank you for Lakeview to giving me this opportunity.
And next, we have our amazing school counselors, Ms. Maneri and Ms. Hall, who are going to introduce our Lakeview Lion leaders for this year.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Mary Beth Hall, and this is Deb Maneri, and we're the school counselors at Lakeview School. And I first just want to say thank you so much for showing up tonight to support our school, to support the students. And we just want to say thank you for raising such amazing children. Thank you, thank you. You have no doubt, right? Seeing these kids, your parents have done a great job. So thank you so much. So Ms. Maneri and I run the Lakeview Lion Leader Program, and the mission of that program is to create connectedness and community among all the students at Lakeview School.
And as you can see, we have brought many of our Lakeview Lion leaders. There are about 100 on average a year that want to do it and participate in different activities like running morning meetings, kindergarten recess, all of those wonderful leadership activities. Tonight we have 3 of our leaders that would like to talk about core values and what being a Lakeview Lion leader means to them. We'll start with Rui.
What does it mean to be a Lakeview Lion? Being a Lakeview Lion means a lot of things. It's being kind, helpful, and so much more. It doesn't matter whether or not you have the badge or job around the school. Being a Lakeview Lion means showing our core values and our desire to help others.
How do I demonstrate the core values outside of school? I show perseverance in dance and cheer, especially when there is something challenging. I show respect to my family, friends, and coaches by listening to them and by respecting their different opinions. I also show integrity by not lying to anyone and always doing the right thing even if someone isn't watching.
How can I use the core values in academics? I can show perseverance by never giving up if something gets hard, like on a math problem. I can show respect to everybody, even if they are different, and it's a good way to spread kindness. I can show integrity by not lying if something gets hard. Like if something gets hard for you, don't lie about it. Ask for help. I can show diversity by treating people the same even if they look different or act different. I can show excellence by giving an extra 1% and never giving up.
And next up, we'd like to invite Mrs. Tran, who's going to introduce one of our students who's used our core values in her work at school.
Good evening, everyone. I am very proud to introduce one of our Lakeview Lions who definitely show Lakeview pride every day, Gabrielle Gantier. Can you come on up? Come on up. Gabby is our 4th grade Lion who wants to help better our school community and our town community by being a part of Lakeview's K-Kids Club, which is a service community club. They actually give up their recess time in order to do the good deeds that they do. And Gabby wanted to participate as not only a member, but she also wanted to run for treasurer. So we are going to show a short video clip of Gabby's K-Kids Council election speech.
I think pride is very important. It is so important that it is something we have to show every day. To show pride is to show perseverance, to try and try again, to show respect, not only these kinds of people, but materials too. To show integrity, to be kind even when no one is looking, to show diversity, to be kind to people no matter what they look like, and last but not least, to show excellence, be your best self.
Thank you, Gabby, so much for being such a wonderful representation of K-Kids. We're very proud of you.
And now, in typical Lakeview fashion, it is time to thank you all for coming tonight. We are going to be passing some paws and some Lakeview bracelets that go with our theme for this year, thanks to our wonderful PTA. Thank you all so much.
Bracelets, $5. Got a couple of.
All right, you guys can look at bracelets over here. Who has the bracelet?
Yeah, let's get everybody, Mrs. Tran, everybody up there. Are there any no picture kids in here?
We want to get everybody. Right here, honey.
All right, ready? Okay, ready? All right. You guys can see. Do you want me to do one with you in it? No? Okay.
But I do want you guys to let me know tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. All right, sounds good. All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Nice job. Parents, thank you for coming out. Makes our day, right? It makes the year for us, so thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for the parents, the kids. Congratulations. Great job speaking in front of everybody. Thank you very much.
What? Well, I saw more than that. Sky, Evan, and Mrs. Tran. There were some in the audience too, but just the ones that spoke, those 5. Am I? Are we ready? You guys ready? Are you guys ready?
Yeah, that's true. Just call out the
Go right ahead. It's better.
Thank you, Dr. Forte, Dr. Cullis, for inviting in Lakeview. We always love when we have kids come in, so appreciate it. That was excellent. So without any further ado, we'll move on to our next special presentation, which is Dr. Cullis presenting our 2021-2022 testing data.
Yes, let's all talk data. I can see a big crowd here. We're excited about the data, but hopefully just that energy that we just saw will keep it in mind, help us keep in mind that behind all of these numbers are kids, and they're people, and they have little personalities and a lot of things going on with them besides just this piece. So the 21-22 school year was the first time since 2019 that we took our standardized NJSLA tests. So it is a renewed baseline. We do not have comparative data. The only data that we have at this point is to compare to the state averages. And then once we hear from our other neighboring districts, our similar size districts, we will be able to compare and see, in that realm how we are comparing. So our first slide has a lot of data, but I just want to point out a few things. By law, we show the data from every grade level, both math and language arts, across each of the proficiency levels, so 1 to 5. And you can see what percentage of students in comparison to the state for each of those levels and each of those grades. What you hope is that level 1, 2, and 3, that all of our numbers are low. You want to be lower than the state because those are below proficiency. And then level 4 and level 5 are meeting and exceeding expectations. So we're looking for higher numbers there. For ELA, I just wanted to point out 2 things, which was in 5th grade, we had a very high exceeding expectations in both 5th and 7th grade. 34% of our students were at level 5, and in 7th grade, we have 53%. So that's significantly higher than we've normally seen at 7th grade. It's a very high number of students getting 5s. And comparing then those 2 together, were 86 and 88% proficient. The other, I'll talk a little bit about comparing it to 2019 in the next few slides. For math, similar information, but what we do see is that our math scores are lower, probably about 20% lower than our ELA scores. It's similar to data that we saw in 2018. So we really were on a great trajectory going into 2019 and then to 2020 testing. We had made a lot of changes in 2018 and 19 to get ready for this next testing cycle. However, that did not occur. So where we're seeing now is about the data range we were at before we made our big changes. A few notable things. I will point out that our 4th grade, again, was higher than the state by a considerable amount, 54%, 4th grade, 49% in 5th grade. And then down in algebra and geometry, we're at 85% compared to a 30% at the state, and 85 compared to 38. So you can see that in those areas, we are doing quite well. The areas, and the area in yellow is the area of concern. I noticed some significantly low scores. We had seen low scores like that in 8th grade before, but that again was back in 2017-18. And by 2019, we'd actually brought it up to 40%. So that is lower than where we left off. Granted, it's different students, but that's where we had gotten progressively. And then we also see that our numbers of exceeding expectations for math are lower than we would like to see in those upper levels. So these are our core classes, so grade level courses, not our advanced course work or our high school courses. So just a quick rundown, I put it side by side so you can see what it looks like, ELA and math. As I mentioned, it's about 20%. If you notice, we seem to progress third, fourth, and by fifth grade, we get to the highest. And then as the new skill cycle happens, sixth grade goes back down again. It seems to make its way back up by eighth. But again, it's the math area. If you caught the news tonight, we also participated in NAEP last year. We were in NAEP school, Lakeview was. That nationally, that's exactly what they saw. ELA holding their own during the pandemic, math seeing 20% drops, and we saw the same thing here. By demographic, we do report out on several different categories. The first subgroup is by race. So across, it's very small, but it's Asian, Black, Hispanic, multiracial, and white. And what you can see in ELA is that the light blue, or I guess up there it looks light green, across there, you see that it's about the same across all of the different groupings. We have to be mindful that some of the subgroups have very few representatives, like they might have 20 as opposed to another group that has 1,000. So one student can make a large difference in one subgroup as opposed to one student in another. It may not make much of a difference. So I just kind of see that the trends are lowest are at the ones and then moving up to fives, right? So I see it looks fairly similar trends across all of the races. I don't see anything really standing out. It does look like in our Asian subgroup, a large number getting exceeding. It's, that's something to be mindful of. But when I look at proficiency, it's about the same across. Again, the numbers do make a difference. In math, it's more discrepant. So we don't see clear patterns here. We see some groups where across most of the math, the 3 is the largest group, which is not proficient. It's nearing proficiency, but it's not quite there. And then, the other groups, Hispanic, multiracial, and white about the same, and Asian about the same for proficiency. But we do see kind of the numbers go up and down in math with that. For gender, it's almost exactly the same. So I see that males and females in ELA, you can see the trend, the percentages are very close, and in math, the same thing. So you can see it's almost, this is the math one. It doesn't get much closer. They're almost exactly the same, and some of the numbers are the same. So, and we're about 50-50, male, female in the district. As far as program, the programs that we looked at are free and reduced lunch, gifted, our 504s, English language learners, students with IEP, special education, and general education. Again, this is for ELA. What I like to see is that across all of these groups, for the most part, we see that the proficiencies don't differ significantly. And probably our greatest gain is that we do not have a huge difference between our special education students and general education students when it comes to proficiency. We do see differences in the exceeding, but we're seeing much, so many fewer gaps between where our students with IEPs are and where the students without IEPs are. And that's a huge gain for us. So I'm very happy about that. We do see under our gifted program, a high number of students that are exceeding in ELA. When it comes to math, again, that same pattern that there is no pattern, right? It's just kind of all over the place depending on the group. For the first time, we see our students that are in programs, the free and reduced lunch program, which is our economically disadvantaged, we do see a difference. So this is the first time that this subgroup is appearing as having difficulty. It is a larger subgroup than we have had in the past, and now it's on our radar because it has not really come to the forefront until this point. Again, across them, if you look with our gifted and with all the other areas, the exceeds is lower, and the meets is a little bit higher, but again, for math, looks like the majority are getting 3s. You know. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
On the free and reduced lunch, the students in that category can obviously be in other categories. It's not isolated, right? We're not looking at, you mean, right? I mean,
That is correct. I mean, we certainly we have students that are in our gifted program and also have an IEP. Those are twice exceptional students. We also have gen ed students who are in free and reduced lunch. So that's a good point. So they do get counted. They can
Yeah.
be counted twice.
Okay. But
here.
looking at these two charts, to my layman's mind,
Mhm.
free and reduced lunch is like an indicator of the likelihood of being below or approaching or meet expectations. I mean, that's like a single indicator that seems like a fairly strong indicator, at least as far as our data goes.
Yes, and it's the first time that it's
That we've
been
seen.
that evident.
Gotcha.
We have not ever had that particular subgroup have so much data that's evident that that's a risk indicator. And of
Yeah.
course, anecdotally, we would know, but that's the first time that we had the data to support that.
Just another quick point. It'll be
Yes.
great to see if other districts have similar pattern because math seems to stand out nationally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm curious wherever it is, but math definitely, it has always been in the last decade really where we've been working. Used to be opposite, but now our ELA is stronger than our math, and that's an area we have to continue to work with our kids. So I looked at this data every which way I could, trying to find patterns because you hear on the news learning loss, unfinished learning, and I looked at every single student. I took their 2019 score, their 2022 score. I looked at all their other data that we have. I looked at the programs that they were in, trying to find some sort of pattern, and I really could not find any significant pattern. We have to look at each student, which I guess is exactly the point that we're at, is that each student, we have to look at exactly where they are because some students excelled and some students fell off, and there wasn't necessarily a rhyme or reason as to which ones did. It didn't make a difference if they were virtual or in person or any of those subgroups. So that was very interesting for me. But I did try to make some comparison. So if you look, it's been 3 years, but where it's red would be our third graders are the ones in 2019. Now they're sixth graders. So they didn't test for 3 years. So in 2019, the third grade was at 75%, and the sixth grade, they were at 63%. I took out all of the students just as an apples to apples comparison, and I only selected students that were here both times, both in 19 and 22, and that's what that blue number is. So 68% of the students tested in both years. So it went from 75 to 68. It's not as significant of a drop as 63. But again, I wanted to count for students that had moved in during and weren't with us that whole time. For fourth grade, we saw 87. And then when they tested again in seventh grade, 86. And with just our Denville students for both times, 87. So it's the same. They tested the same. And then 90% for fifth grade. As eighth graders, they tested at 76. When I looked at students that tested both years, it was 80%. So a bit of a drop off, but again, different skills, same students. That just gives us an idea of where we are there. With math, again, the lower scores, but our third graders in 19 was 73, and it went to 44 or 51% of both the tested. In fourth grade, we were 77 to 41. 52% of those tested both times. Fifth grade went from 70. Now, this is where it gets tricky because in fifth grade, all of the kids are together. But in eighth grade, they're branched out in 3 different programs. So 14 is only our core. So I put the algebra kids, the geometry kids, and the core students into one group, and it's 45%. Still a drop, but certainly not 14, but they do break out. So this is similar to what we saw in 2018. We were not happy then. I'm not happy with 14 now. We're not going to see that next year. But that's where we ended with those students. So that's about as much comparison I can do as far as learning specific or pattern learning loss. So here are some highlights. So our ELA scores are similar to the 2019. Yep, sure.
So In 7th grade, don't we have algebra students?
We did. And so that 52%, I pulled them out too. I took the algebra students and put them in with, they're in that 52%. So see the blue 52?
Yep.
That has our core, advanced, and our algebra students in that 52.
Oh, got it. Okay. So in other words, the 70 in 5th grade equates to that 45 if you were to combine them. Is that what you're saying?
This 70 in 5th grade?
Yeah.
Or 70 in 5th grade is the 45. Yep.
45. Yep.
Mhm.
If you add the 3 different groups together in 8th grade.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yes. You can see algebra and geometry was still holding strong. We actually are doing a little bit better. But again, this is such a small group that it's like one student. It makes a difference between that. We do have larger numbers in those programs as well, which is kind of nice to see. Okay. Some of the highlights. Our ELA scores are similar to that in 2019. It is a new growth baseline, so we're starting over. They won't give you a growth score yet. We'll have to see next year how our students do. The learning loss unfinished varies by individual student. And so we have to look at it that way. We have to take all of the data with each individual student. There is no other way to look and to capture what has been missed, except for absolutely going to each individual student, which we'll talk about some of the programs we're going to use for that. The males and females were the same, which that's great. And more individualized assessments and programs to address our student needs. So the good news is that now that we are forced to only look at the individual when it comes to learning gaps. So that means that we have a lot of individualized assessments and we'll be able to cater it to each student. And the achievement gap between our students with IEPs and without has closed, which I'm very happy about. We saw for the first time, and it's numerical, but it is anecdotal because we had very few students doing a new program called Math 180 last year. And what we saw was those that were in our 5th grade program were within 3% of their peers in their gen ed peers in the classroom. So that was really exciting to me because even though it's a small number of kids right now, it looks like we're on the right path. That kids are getting what they need. Areas for growth. I think it's evident. Math proficiency. It's absolutely a goal, an area, and that's why I changed the goal. Once we got the data, I was like, we have to go back to our 2019 goal. We were really making strides with our Math Matters program and all of our tutoring that we had going on, and we kind of took some steps back from that, and we need to get back to where we were. We need the consistency. It's up and down by subgroup, by grade level. It's kind of it's really on the student. It's not a pattern, and we should see a pattern every year. We should see a pattern where students are growing across the grades. As I just mentioned, they continue to close the gaps. And the one thing we do need to pay closer attention to is our economically disadvantaged subgroup, because it is evident that the achievement was linked with the data. I'm not going to list all these. These are all, or tell you all of these, but these are all of the strategies that we're currently using to address these deficiencies. We have a lot going on in math in particular, but I want to point out a few. One, we're using 3 new programs. So we did purchase between 2019 and now, we purchased new math books for our K-5. We are using Air Tutors to provide virtual tutoring, and we have in-person tutors at the middle school. We have a Math 180 program, which we are currently using in students who are in a replacement math setting. And the idea of Math 180 is that we look at how many steps or how many grade levels behind the student may be, and we look at the ultimate goal of getting them ready for algebra in 9th grade, and we cut out what is going to be retaught in the future and get it to where they have the base skills to be able to compete in 9th grade for Algebra 1, because they have to be there. If they're 4 grade levels behind going to 9th grade, I mean, it's really we've really set them up for quite a challenge in high school. So it's kind of cutting out some of the content. They will see that content. It's intentional of which subject matter is most important and valuable for them to go through the high school pathways and get ready for college. I mean, that's what's the most important. We all know that there are things that are valuable and there are things that are essential in math, and that's what it does. And so those teachers that are teaching that program have found, they said it was just exactly what those students needed, that it wasn't just like, let's take the same material and cut out some of the math problems. It was like, let's think about the material differently and take a totally different approach to how we do that. So that's Math 180. And the other one is Dreambox. And Dreambox is a supplemental computer program. It's a software that is adaptive, and it's different than any of the other adaptive software that we've seen, that I've tried. I think I've tried about all of them over the last few decades. Some of them are just worksheets that are digitized, and so it's not really, it's just practice. Others, they sort of put a student on a path, and you kind of work your way through the same pathway. Every kid takes the same path, but you go at your own pace. This one is different because the adaptive engine is designed based on how the student answers the problem. And I'm going to show the example. So we have, go ahead, Rick. We have, oops, one back. Oh, there we go. So we have students have the same problem, add 29 to 50. Each of them is going to do it a different way. So they all came up with the answer 79. So if they were to take a quiz on paper, they would all just write 79. Some may show work, some may not. They do this with the manipulatives on the screen. So they have to use counters, they move things around to show their thinking. When they show their thinking, it turns out that these students did it different ways. One added by ones, one added by tens, and one subtracted by tens from 100. Totally different pathways, because one student is still back at single digit counting. They're not even, grouping numbers. The next one is grouping numbers, and the third one is actually doing it knowing that it's easier to go from 100 and go backwards. It's much quicker. So those are different pathways, and they're going to put those kids on different lessons and different standards to work on, right? So here, if I were showing it in video form, it just shows you how the student actually moves the counters to show how so that captures their student thinking. So each of them shows on the screen. They would push the numbers, they'd move the counters over to show the computer, this is how I'm solving the problem. The computer then puts them on the pathway. Oh, this student already knows how to group numbers by 10. They're not going to go back and redo that. They already know how to do that. So based on that, it's not just on what the answer is. Go ahead, Vicki. Keep going. Yep, keep going. There we go. And so it's not just based on the answer. And this is how it's different. It's also the only one that the ESSA, right, the federal government has said is the highly effective. So they go in categories, and this is the only one. We used a grant to purchase it. It's not cheap, but it's rated highly effective, and the research is both from Harvard and Stanford. So there's a lot of research around it showing that kids make growth with this program. This question came up on the debate, so I wanted tell you a little bit about what Dreambox is. So there's no question, it really is a supplemental. So now the teachers, knowing what the kids and how they're solving problems, can actually do something in small groups with them. Now, this is what the teachers see. I mean, there's so much data, but I'm going to show you two of the slides. So this is a 5th grade class. The teacher looks at this, and the light green are as a class, the light green are the grade level standards have already completed. So like kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and then some of 3rd has already been completed by this 5th grade group. This is a real data, one of our classes in 5th grade. A number of the standards in 3rd grade have not been completed. There's a lot in 4th grade that have it, and then they're on some 5th grade. Right? So that kind of tells you, you could actually now go into individual students, and this is what it would look like. I took out the names, and across each of those rows is a student. And I've now picked 4th grade standards. I went back to 4th grade. Everyone that's a green dot, the student is proficient on that standard. The teacher can click on the standard. They don't have to memorize them. They click on the standard and it tells you, multi-digit multiplication or whatever it is. The ones that are empty, the student has not attempted, and the one that have percentages are how far along they are in that module. Some students get 1 lesson in that module and they're done. Some get 8. They can, sometimes they speed through it, but they don't get a pass because they're not proficient. So that can get frustrating for kids. And when it gets hard, it gets frustrating. And so they want to move on to something else. So they'll jump around. Our job as teachers is to get them to be resilient, finish go through it because that will change your pathway. But that gives you an idea. So this is what teachers see. The parents that are looking at home, this is what they can see. The kids that we did in the summer, that's what they used. And now the teacher can go, wow, we have a lot of kids working on, one of the standards. I can see that there are 7 kids in my class working on that. I take those 7 kids, I now have a small group, right? But now I also have kids that are already working in 5th grade on some 6th and 7th grade standards too. I'm not holding them back. They can keep moving. So last year we had some kindergartners who were very strong in math. We just put them on Dreambox. They do their classroom math, but they also had time to work on this, and they started just moving through. And now they're already at, a couple of them are halfway through 1st grade standards, So it gives them an opportunity to, one, for us to really know where to remediate, but also where we can enrich them. So that's a lot. This program has so much data, but that just gives you a glimpse of what we can do and how we can tailor it to that individual student. I mean, it's really quite impressive. And we saw gains in our summer kids. We did this every single day. We saw significant gains. Most of the kids in our program, actually, like say our 1st graders, went on grade level into 1st grade. They had 0 standards accomplished at the beginning of the summer, and they actually went in on grade level. So it was like amazing for us. And that's it. So thank you. Any questions?
No, Sandy, yeah, real quick about we'll stay on Dreambox for a sec. So during the debate, questions came up about Dreambox, and the implication was that it's not great, or there's something wrong with it, or there's a problem. Like, what do you attribute that to, or do you have any kind of like what's the pain point there for parents or kids? Do you think
it's new? I think anytime there's something new, people question. I think that they wonder how is it being used, because it's fun for the kids. It's like, it looks like computer games if you've tried it at home. So it looks like they're playing it. They're not, they're going through the different lessons. Now there's a lot of now that the teachers are better at using it, they know how to teach the kids how to do hints, because there's hints in there. If you keep missing the problems, then you go watch the hints and it shows you how to do it. Now go back and practice a little bit more. But this is it can be differentiated so the teacher can pull different groups at different times. I think it was lumped in because at the same time we also introduced Math 180, and some of the families who had not been using Math 180 in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade in the pull-out replacement math were questioning why are they doing something different, not probably realizing that their students were starting to fall farther and farther behind. And so we put this in as a stop measure. I mean, we needed to do something because every year they were just falling farther behind, and sending them off to 9th grade. It was too difficult for me to watch that we were sending them off at like a 4th grade math level. That was tough. Knowing the high school does not have the previous programs of pre-algebra that they used to have. So that's kind of why. I don't know other than that, because it's such a great program. There's a lot of research out there to show it, and maybe as parents get more familiar with it, they'll realize that. But I think they kind of lumped that together, and I know there were a few dissatisfied families because they didn't want them to do the Math 180. They wanted them to do the Envision Math, or what the Gen Ed was doing, but it wasn't moving kids. And so we made the decision that, and some parents decided to leave that replacement program because of it. But we needed to do something that we thought was going to be in the student's best interest. But I hope now you understand a little bit better. So when we're asked, that we can see they could Google it. There's a lot of videos online that they could just Google and see. It's quite interesting program.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Very general. So actually, we're better than the state in all the categories, which is very good. But if you took a look at the state and our comparative districts that we match up against there, I'm just guessing that they'd have the same results. Maybe not the same numbers, but you'd have those opportunity areas. And from what I've read and heard, a lot of this has to do with the COVID shutdown, where a lot of these kids just didn't get a half-baked education at home, especially for the parents that were trying to work their job and then watching their kids on a computer, making sure they were listening and doing the work. So
I think that is true. Yeah. I don't know. Once I know our comparative data, we'll present that. I have been in contact with our sending districts, and we're all sharing too. We're like, oh, how did you do in math? We're pretty strong if we're just doing that comparison, but I think all of us are putting our data out tomorrow, so we'll be able to start seeing how we're doing. And everybody did better in ELA than math. I think it was easier to write and read at home than it was kids just learn math differently now. It's not just here's some problems, just do them, because we're trying not to let them just learn a formula. We want them to think about what they're doing. And without having manipulatives in their hands or people to talk to about what they're thinking, I do think it set us back. Because we all know we have kids at home. They won't take just an answer, like just do it. They won't do that anymore. They want to know why. And that it didn't lend itself very well to that. Virtual doesn't lend itself very well to that. Okay, thank you. If you have any other questions, just email me. You can pour over that data. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a lot more comparisons next year, and I'll be sure to invite you back.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis. And thank you. I noticed we have a few people that are joining us on the Google Meet. I did notice one individual had their hand raised. I just wanted to remind you we are happy to see you joining us virtually. Unfortunately, at this time, we do not have the ability or the policy in place, I should say, to allow comments from the public via remote, although that is actually something we're going to be discussing, or something we have discussed as a board, and we plan to have it implemented by about December timeframe to be able to take comments virtually. But glad that we have folks online. And just want to remind you that if you do have a question, you can always reach out to Dr. Cullis, send her an email or give her a call, and she'd be happy to talk through some of the data, or anybody from the board, obviously. And with that, we'll move on to our agenda. Just as a reminder, we have several strategic planning meetings coming up: November 14th, November 28th, December 12th. They are all board meetings, so we should all be there. And then obviously for anybody that is watching this either live or virtually, we invite you to those 3 meetings. We look forward to hopefully having a successful strategic planning meeting like we did about 5 years ago. And as a reminder, those goals that come out of that strategic planning, or the feedback that we receive, really lays the groundwork for how we set our annual goals and where the direction that the district goes for the next 5 years. So those meetings, once again, November 14th, November 28th, and December 12th in the Riverview All-Purpose Room. And with that, I'll move on to superintendent's comments. Dr. Forte.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Cullis. Nice job on the presentation. Couple of quick announcements. Valley View Athletics, boys and girls soccer teams are in the semifinals of the county tournament. The girls are undefeated on the season. Wednesday at Memorial in Hanover is the boys game, and home versus Kinnelon on Thursday for the girls. Cross country last week had the county team, the grade race, and their county championship is this Thursday. Our Denville Leadership Academy, which is a program that we started a few years ago, but we put on hold for a little while, is back and off to a good start. It's a program where teachers and other staff members pair up with administrators, people in the administrative team, and they do like a kind of an internship, an informal internship. It's been something that's been successful over the years. We have Veterans Day our Veterans Day programs are coming up. Lakeview is November 4th at 8:30 a.m. and Riverview is November 9th at 9:30 a.m. So Lakeview, November 4, Riverview, November 9. Strategic plan dates, November 14, 28, and 12. And we'd love to have a great attendance. So far, we have about 60 RSVPs. We're still pushing it out, and we're going to work on getting some more. We'd like to get that number. Our goal is 100, so we're going to keep working until we get that. And if anybody on the board can repost anything I put out, that would be a big help. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. And Assistant Superintendent's comments. Dr. Cullis.
None at this time.
Thank you. Business Administrator comments, Mrs. Growski.
As you may know, we are in the preliminary stage of the 23-24 school budget, and on tonight's agenda is the budget calendar to be approved. And again, this is just preliminary. The governor state will be in February or March. We do not have those dates yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to our first open public discussion. We have no one in the chambers with us, so I'm going to not read the statement, but at 8:24, I am going to open up for public comments. And seeing no one arrive and come to the microphone, I'm going to close our first public comment section at 8:24 p.m. also and move on to our agenda. As an FYI to the public, we do have several board members that are going down to a convention, New Jersey School Boards workshops down in South Jersey. So with that, I would ask if Mr. Capello is interested in moving the agenda as a block. Obviously, if there's any questions, we can certainly do that, but go ahead, Mr. Capello.
I would be happy to. If there are no objections, I would like to move our entire agenda as a block. This include old business items A, B, and C, and new business items A through E, I believe.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Capello and Mrs. Wagner. I believe we need to pull one item from personnel A8. Is that correct, Dr. Forte? Can you just confirm A8, I believe?
You want to pull it?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you had to pull one.
Oh, no, that's on the agenda to pull. That's actually.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Any questions on the agenda items? Obviously, we'll give a little bit of time for everybody to flip through and make sure there was nothing outstanding they wanted to bring up or discuss or any questions or concerns. And just as we discussed briefly, as far as public participation in board meetings, that's P0167, just to note that that's under policies for first reading this evening. And once again, we'll move that along through our next few meetings and then have that available for remote participation from the public. Do you have something, Mr. Capello?
Yeah. I was just going to call out under finance, we receiving some donations. Dictionaries for our third grade students from the Denville Rotary, $1,950 from the Municipal Alliance to fund a Stephen Hill Speak Sobriety program, and also $100 worth of books for each class at Riverview by the Riverview PTA. Oh, and I'm sorry, and one more donation of office equipment, 25 office chairs and 2 desks by Michael Short of the Denville Allstate Insurance Office.
And similarly, I was just going to note that the Denville Education Foundation provided a grant for a total of $3,475 for our Beyond the Blues 8th grade residency. So they're going to provide, in addition to the residency that we pay for, they're going to have a full band performance, jazz, blues jazz performance for the middle school, and some Gula Island master classes.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello?
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner? Yes. Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes. And we'll move on to good of the cause. Committee reports, correspondence, discussion items. I guess we got board meeting highlights. Do you have anything for that, Dr. Forte?
I have Dr. Cullis's data presentation and the Lakeview Pride presentation, and then I'll mention the donations too.
Perfect. Anybody have anything else? Good. Okay. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right. Seeing nothing else, I will move on to our second open public comment section. I'm going to open that up at 8:28 p.m. Seeing no one in the chambers, I'm going to close our second open public comment section at 8:28 p.m. And we do have a need for a second executive session. We will not vote on any items coming out of the second executive session. Mrs. Wagner, would you mind bringing us into executive? And it will be for personnel, correct?
And student issues.
Thank you.
If there are no objections, I'd like to move that we convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss personnel and student issues. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
And we are in executive session at 8:29 p.m.